what inspired it is years of being a scientist, even before I was a veterinarian, and realizing that what I learned as a veterinarian was not incorporating all of what is known in science.
You're listening to the Soul Touched by Dogs podcast, the show for dog lovers who see dogs not as toys or tools, but wise souls worth our respect and care. I'm Anke Herman, and I'm your host. Hello and welcome, Dr. Feinman. I'm super excited to have you back here.
And I am very, very grateful and happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, and I will not ask you the same question that I usually ask on the podcast because you've been here before, but maybe we like a little, if somebody doesn't know you yet, where you're based in this world and, what's your business with dogs?
I am a veterinarian in the U.S. on the East Coast in Connecticut. And as a veterinarian, my business is dogs, cats, and other animals. Yes. And what I do is just kind of take modern science and try to equate it to the indigenous wisdom that we know that is the basis for all the healthcare outside of the U.S. or a lot of the healthcare outside of the U.S. and how I can join that with what I know as a veterinarian because they do work really, really well together.
Oh, I think it's such a beautiful, because it's not, you're not just kind of raging against whatever, like you actually have the knowledge. That's why I think you're in such a unique position. And I also want to mention that you've written a book.
I have. Do you
And
have a
so
hard?
no,
Oh, you
I've
have?
I've got it
Wow.
right here.
Oh,
So
we should both hold it up for
that's
selfies.
right. We should kind of, look,
Get a screenshot.
I know.
Anyway,
And
so
I would love you to share about, what inspired you to write the book and, and what's in it.
what inspired me to write it? That's a different answer every time people ask that question. And today, the answer is what inspired it is years of being a scientist, even before I was a veterinarian, and realizing that what I learned as a veterinarian was not incorporating all of what is known in science.
Hmm.
So what I've done is spend the past 20 years upgrading my knowledge. So enlarging my toolkit using one thing only, and that is the one thing that we're not taught about in vet school, and that is the basis for why the body works. The basis for why animal bodies or human bodies work is energy.
Hmm.
Without energy, without gas in the car, you're not going anywhere. Without a full battery or a battery with a charge in your computer, you're not computing. Our animals are not able to work properly if they don't have the right energy balance.
That makes some
And
sense.
we don't learn about that in vet school, unfortunately, yet.
Unfortunately,
But
right? Yeah. So how would you unpack energy? Because it can be, a sort of a big word. Well, I'm thinking, of, okay, there's food and there's this, and like, how do you unpack it?
how do I unpack it? Well, I guess I start with my background as a molecular biologist, and I unpack it at the cellular level, where energy is what allows the cells to do their best job. When the energy drops and when the information flow is down, then problems arise, and we call those problems symptoms.
Hmm.
Symptoms are not problems; they are clues that the body is giving us that the energy balance is out of kilter. And it may be, just like you implied, maybe a simple fix like adding more energy by adding more vital food. And frequently that will actually
Mm.
help in
I
a
mean, the
lot of
quality
ways.
of food, I mean, we just sort of touched on this a little bit, like the quality of food's definitely an element of that, isn't it?
Well, when I talk about fresh food, I'm referring to processed versus fresh. So all the fresh foods are going to have more vitality in them than processed foods. And we know in people that the more processed food we eat, the greater the chance of getting sick. And then we begin to focus on the symptoms instead of what's most important. No, what's most important is health span and quality of life. Really, what my work is all about is optimizing quality of life in animals. In the book, you'll see that I talk about two SOSs. These are SOSs. These are calls for help that our animals are giving. SOS number one stands for the significance symptoms. So all symptoms are a clue that the energy balance is out of alignment. The other SOS is signs of susceptibility, because when our animals begin to get susceptible, when their chances get greater and greater of getting sick, bodies are already, even before they get sick, their bodies are giving us clues. And those clues, what we call the early warning signs. So they're things that we in regular veterinary medicine call normal, but they're not normal. They're common, but they're not normal. Things like eye goop, red ears, or ears that get red, or pickiness in cats, vomiting in cats, water drinking in cats. Thing is as basic as normal temperature that we consider is actually higher than it should be. And how do we know these things? Because when we get them back in balance, all those things get better.
Well, I mean, yeah, God, that's so there's a whole bunch of things that we kind of tend to overlook, right? Because we end up, it's just almost, I would imagine it's the same for people. Like we go to the doctor when we're like feeling really rotten, like, and there's a lot of other things that come before that that we tend to ignore. And I guess it's worse with the animals because they're not saying anything. Like they're probably, on top of it, they're quite good at hiding whatever is going on for them, right?
Well, that's thank you for saying that, because they're not hiding it. We're just not observing it. We have to become better listeners, better
Oh.
observers. I mean, I know a very prominent holistic vet that teaches a modality, a body-based modality, and it is all about the body. But even in that situation, there were changes in the symptoms before the animal got sick that were not being observed because we didn't think to observe them. And the good news is that we gave it a very simple acronym to remember, and that may be the one take home that I would love people to have after this little chat, is that rather than focusing on symptoms, focus on beam, quality of life. Beam as in sunbeam, as in the balance beam, as in the tractor beam of Star Trek. BEAM is an acronym that stands for behavior, energy, appetite, and mood. And if we focus on those four things, then the symptoms become clues to how we can optimize BEAM.
Okay. So can you give people an example of a
I,
typical sort of scenario where
I,
okay, so how do I observe beam? Because obviously I would need to track it to even recognize or notice when something changes. And then if there is a symptom, like how do I go about, in improving beam?
well, there are a lot of ways. biggest way is what we call the happiness protocol, because being is a reflection of energy, and energy is a reflection of mitochondria. Mitochondria are little powerhouses in our cells. And when we focus on what we or they are happiest about, what gives them joy, usually we're talking about it's either food, playing, sniff walks, being loved up. Every individual's an individual. Focus on what they love. We're upgrading the mitochondria, and the symptom will often resolve. And I remember you had an example with your dog when we first talked about being where he had symptom vomiting, I think it was, and you went out for a sniff walk and let him have a sniff walk for 20 minutes. When he came back, he was fine.
Yeah, no, I remember that. Very true. It was remarkable because I wouldn't have, the way he was sort of, not eating and vomiting, like, it wouldn't have occurred to me to take him out, because I'm like, oh, he's too sick to go out for a walk, but it was the best thing, and I let him lead, I wasn't dragging him to kind of get him to do more than he can. So I let him lead, but off he went, right? So yeah, definitely.
And that's a great example of the power of nature.
Mm,
I mean, Gail Pope of Brighthaven fame likes to say that we ignore the most accomplished doctor in the room, and that is Dr. Mother Nature.
yeah.
Because the reality is that in the framework of nature, the body is designed to rebalance if we don't get in the way. And how do we get out of the way? We provide what the body, what our animals need to do their best job. Fresh, varied, vital food, sunshine, and that could just be going outside. If you live in an apartment in an inner city, just go outside and go walk up and down the block. For my dog, we do micro engagements. So I have an appointment, go outside for 3 to 5 minutes. She runs around, and like she is right now after we just got back in, she's stacked out. It won't last long, but that's because she has spring fever.
But so you basically go out with her like several times, like, and in these like little short. Oh, I love that.
Micro engagements, micro bursts
Mm,
of joy. But you can do it. There are some dogs and some cats that you can just gaze at them and slow blink if it's a cat, or get them to purr, play with the wand. That's your micro engagement in 3 to 5 minutes.
that's
When
so
there's
doable if you're at home. If you're in the office, stuck in the office somewhere, then it's probably harder. But if you have them around, that's so doable, right?
all you really need to do is what you should be doing anyway, is every half hour, get up, stretch. If you're home, pet your dog. If you're not home and you have a webcam, talk to your dog via the webcam. I
So
know. I was just
sorry.
to say, I know some people that actually have a treat dispenser built into the webcam. So they play with their dog every half hour, and they throw treats for him to play with.
Oh, that is funny. I've seen I've seen this funny video where the dog, like, it was sort of like a ball dispenser, and the dog knew how to operate it. I mean, he was entertained. Like, I'm like, well, the dog didn't like, and he'd just kind of pull some lever, the thing would throw the ball, he'd go for the ball, puts it back, and repeat it as often as he wanted. And I don't know whether a dog can go overboard with that, but he definitely seemed to enjoy himself in the video.
Yeah, and that really is the bottom line, is dog enjoys himself. Getting into the zone of joy. Zone of joy heals many wounds. There was an eminent psychologist that was talking about the most severe pathology in people, paranoid schizophrenia and blah blah blah. He was saying, well, you know what? When they go to their comfort zone, into their zone of joy, into their sweet spot,
Hmm.
they get back to normal.
Oh, wow.
So in other words, being happy, being joyful, being loving goes a long way.
Mm. I mean, that's such a, like, I mean, it's weird that it is so radically different, right? To go from, oh, your dog is, like licking a paw, like here's some medication, here's a cream to put on, right? So there seems to be, I mean, at least where I am, there's quite often that, okay, here's the symptom, and that's the thing that we're treating now. So what you're saying is like you want to actually look at that in a more, you know, like look at the whole ecosystem of the body, right?
Exactly, exactly. And look at the bigger picture because the big picture is always going to be reflected by beam. It's going always going to be reflected by their level of happiness and joy. And all the blood work parameters, in the world don't don't stack up to quality of life. And that's really fundamentally where we are, Anka. Focusing on problems, symptoms or problems there, but we're not focusing on quality of life.
True. I mean, I guess it's a tough one, right? To try and assess that. And I mean, especially when it comes to a point where I'm like, okay, what if I come to the conclusion that my dog doesn't have quality of life, right? So who am I to say? And like, what are we then going to do now?
There is no one better to say what to do now because you know your dog the best.
Mm.
And so, in that situation, the very first thing you say is, what does my dog love the most? Did he used to love the most? And see if you can get him engaged with that. And if he won't even engage with the special treat or play or whatnot, just get him outside, sit on the grass and ground that way. Well, I've taken to prescribing snuffle mats 4 times a day in some cases. So like in Canada, the doctors will often write you a script or go for a walk in a national park, do some forest bathing before you go on the antidepressants or other drugs. So I think that's what we have to do. I think you're right. I think that we're so used to prescribing things like Feinman or got to prescribe sniff walks. We got to prescribe happiness protocol. We've got to, and we would. Vets would be thrilled to do that. It would actually improve vet care. It would
Yeah.
improve the number of times people want to go to the vet. And that, unfortunately is dropping. People are getting more and more distrustful. You'll see a stat in the book from Mars. Mars owns VCA and Antec and Eukanuba and a lot of food companies, and they're very big in the veterinary world in the US. I don't know if it's around the world. There's a stat in the book from Mars that at least 40% of people are not really trusting what their vet is saying because they know intuitively what we're talking about. And they're wondering, why don't you look at the diet or recommend a change in lifestyle or, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's all individual. I think that there are people that do that, or if they read the book or they come to HA, Holistic Actions, see that's the cornerstone. That is the foundation of what we do.
Yeah. So do you find that when people go, okay, so my dog has some kind of symptoms. So when I'm thinking like, what's the easiest way to help somebody break through that? So what you're used to, what the vet's been telling you is like, okay, you need um, cortisol, you need this, you need creams, whatever. So if you now go like, let me see if there's some other way. So, what's the best place to start for somebody to look in a different direction?
Well, I'd love to say read the book because that's what the book is about. A third of the book is about symptoms. A third of the book is about susceptibility, which is the opposite of resilience, and the rest is about holistic medical decision making. And the reason I'm reading this is because what we may need to do is record a 30-second of what these are really short little consumable chapters, but there's so many chapters. I mean, chapter 3, symptoms are clues, not enemies.
Mm.
So maybe all we need to do is have a little recording that you give people of chapter 3, which is a page and a half. And just make it very blunt. What is a symptom? How do we stop focusing on them?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's the point, right? Like, I think we definitely want people to go and get the book because I think our pets do deserve better than just tinkering around with symptoms, right? And the thing is, if it worked, nobody would have that conversation, right? The problem is that it isn't solving the issue.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and if you get the book, be sure to go to the end of the preface where there's a QR code, because the QR code brings you to a whole bunch of actions that you can do. The book is a framework. It's really just the foundation. Then you can do what you said. You can do conscious, compassionate communication. You can use Beam. You can use the happiness protocol. All these things, there's only really one thing missing, and that is adoption by the vet schools on this approach. Because if the vet schools were recommending it, then more of us would be doing it.
Yeah. Do you think there's a possibility that that's going to happen? Because, it
Just
almost feels like, well, if you imagine that it's pharmaceutical companies who have the interest in doing it this way, so do you see, I mean, do you have hope that that's gonna go in that direction?
very, very much so. I've seen it. I mean, in my 40-year career, I've seen us shifting over. There are a lot of obstacles right now, but my mission right now is to empower pet parents on how to do this, via
Mm.
holistic actions. But my mission for the rest of my life is going to be to get vet schools starting to use the paradigm because it's really just a little bit of paradigm shift, meaning that we have to stop focusing on just physiologic and start looking at the root. And that
Mm.
is, that is really what we're talking about. It's gardening. You can't have a healthy farm. You can't have without good soil.
That's so true. That's so true. Um, I was just I don't know, like just sort of coming back. You said something right at the very beginning that somehow popped back to mind about how indigenous wisdom has always been there and really informs all of that. I mean, are you there, like, are you thinking like Chinese medicine or Ayurveda or like, or Northern American indigenous, or is that in general the approach, or like, what do you mean by that?
All that because
Mm,
they're all focusing on one thing. They're all focusing on spiritual connection, the energetic connection of love,
mm,
energetic connection that is the driver for all wellness. So yeah, I study with a Native American elder, and right away we were talking the same language. I was talking molecular biology, and she was talking because that was before, my transformation. And Grandma was talking about, well, the trees can talk, yeah. But basically, read them. If you haven't read it, read up Braiding Sweetgrass. Robin Wall Kimmerer is scientist that's also not sure if he's First Nations or Native American, but in that same vein, and she merges, them. together the way I tried to do with via scientific wellness. Because as you'll read in the book, scientific wellness is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's hard science that can help them be
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, sort
well.
of coming back to that nature that makes so much sense, right? Yeah. So do you want to sort of share a little bit more about um, holistic actions in the meantime? Because until until vets are educated in that way, tell people a little bit more how you help pet parents in there, what it is, and why somebody should come join.
For sure. What we do and what we've done for almost a decade now is train pet parents in the methods of the book. And actually, one of the reasons the book finally got completed was because I wanted a manual for people in HA, a manual that can give them the framework and that can help with the mind shift from the fixed mindset to the growth mindset and HA holistic actions such that by working with us, individually on a forum, or if you have a question, just write down your question, and one of the other vets, community members, we all answer your question. Weekly webinars, one-on-one calls, and really the bottom line, my friend, is that we're there to support you in this method.
Yeah, and
And
I
that
mean,
this
that's
method
so helpful. Mm,
and that it works along with your regular vet.
yeah,
It's definitely not meant to replace anything. It's informing. But again, you asked at the beginning why I got to where I am, because I realized that I learned that much of the bigger picture.
yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense, right? And I really hope that you're gonna get it into vet schools because, I think going too far overboard in one way or another is always trouble. So to come back to nature in that way and not have that discarded, like, and I've seen it, and especially that, like here where I am, was no, well, here's the injection they need, and that's the only thing, and so there isn't much in terms of consideration, and not even like fresh food, or I can't imagine a vet here would say, hey, get your butt into the forest, you know, and I think it's just too valuable to ignore and to discard like that.
And the beauty is that we can start doing it today.
Yeah.
And by us, I don't mean veterinarians, I mean pet parents. You can start right away. I mean, you started the day that we first met.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And
Totally.
all that HA does is help you transition. Because once you transitioned, I mean, granted, we have a lot of people that have been with us for years and years and years. Because we built a like-minded community. These are people that all feel the same way, that are all doing the same, dancing the same dance.
Yeah. And that's so helpful when, to especially when you are facing something and you don't have like a local team or on your side, where you I don't know. Well, if I go to the vet here, it's like, well, yeah, I'm going to get talked over and I'm going to be pressured into certain medication, and to have that space where I can go like, no, I'm not crazy. Like, I'm not off. Like, it's right to question, and it's right to open that up, to have that support is really, really helpful, so that I can go advocate for my dog where it needs it, where it needs to be done.
Exactly, exactly. And that veterinarian may need to read the book. Because the book was written originally as a book only for veterinarians.
Oh, okay. That's
So
interesting.
it's got a little, still has a lot of signs in it, but then I began to realize over the years that for us to really read it, it needs to be more based in reality, not based in molecular biology and what
Yeah.
what the veterinarian thinks. So the majority of the book right now is my experience, my personal experience, or what I call my own me search. My research was
I love
on
it.
was on little individual cells back in the 70s and 80s, but now really it's more research on myself and my own animals. And of course, I also have seen the results hundreds or thousands,
Yeah.
on the forum. And actually
Yeah. And there's
anybody
loads
can
and
go
loads of
on.
people in there. Yeah. So it's not just like, if you've been in this world for a very long time, and there's loads and loads of people in holistic actions where, it's so good to see that more and more people look in that direction and don't just take the kibble and a pill and off we go, right? So I think we owe that to our dogs
We,
to look a bit broader.
yeah, we definitely, I mean, that is my main mission as far as the book is concerned, is for the sake of animals, sake of the dogs, we need to know that there's another way.
Yeah.
That's it, Anka. It's just that there's another way. I mean, Steve Jobs told us that with the iPhone, and now, like, how
That's
many
right.
of us walk around without a smartphone?
That's so true. That's so true. That's such a beautiful way to land the plane. Like, there is another way. It's just like, there we've got the title for the episode right there, right? It's perfect. So yeah, I'm obviously gonna pop the details in the below for the book, for holistic actions, and basically make sure people can find you easily. So thank you so much for coming on again.
Thank you, Anka. It's been fun. It's always fun. I
It's
love
always
to see
fun.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Thank you all for listening.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so other dog lovers can find the show. Head over to soultouchedbydogs.com and sign up for the weekly treat: tips, recommendations, and personal stories to warm your dog loving heart. And if you know a awesome human you think I should interview, I'd love an introduction. Email me at Anke, that's ANKE, at soultouchedbydogs.com.